Welcome back to Dash Explore. I'm Sarah, and welcome to our first official video to help you and your family plan your next or first travel adventure. Today I'm going to be talking about picking a destination, which can arguably be one of the most difficult parts of planning your trip. But before we jump into that, I want to start by introducing my family so that you can get to know us as you travel along on our adventures. First, I want to start by introducing my husband and travel partner, Andrew. We've been together for almost 9 years, and from the very beginning, travel has been a big part of our relationship. We are so excited that we now get to share the world with our girls, and we look forward to making many more memories and seeing a lot more of the world together. And then there are our daughters, Haley, who's 4 years old, and Delaney, who just turned 1. We are so excited that we've already gotten to get out and see the world with them, and we look forward to many adventures together in the future. Traveling with our kids was always something that was going to be important to us, but unfortunately, Haley was born just before the pandemic, and traveling with her as a baby was not something that we got to experience as we had hoped. But now that we have both girls, we are excited that we were able to get out and start seeing the world together. So now that you know a little bit more about our family, let's start talking about how do you pick a destination for your trip. I'm going to start by sharing how we picked our destinations for our trip to France and Germany, and then I will share some tips and things to consider when you start planning a trip for your family. So as I've already said, we've always wanted to travel with our kids, and we knew that we were ready to start planning our first official trip as a family of 4. Fortunately for us, my college roommate had just moved to Germany with her family, and it felt like an easy first step for us to take our kids out of the country to go visit somebody who already had a kid, but was also familiar with the place that we were visiting. So we knew that Germany was going to be one stop on our trip. Next, we wanted to find a place that would be cheap and easy for us to fly in and out of, since my friends don't live close to a major airport. We started looking at flights and found that Paris was both cheap and easy to get to, and since our Fancy Nancy loving 4-year-old was already obsessed with Paris, we knew that that would be the perfect hub for our trip. Now, if you're not familiar with the Fancy Nancy series, Nancy is an eccentric little girl who's obsessed with all things Paris, and Haley has been talking about going to Paris for probably close to 2 years now, even though she had no idea what Paris really was. So although we kind of let our 4-year-old dictate where we were flying in and out of, it was the place that ended up working out for us too as parents. Next, we started diving into the map to see what other places we might want to visit while we were in Europe. Naturally, we stumbled upon the fact that Disney has a park in Paris, and we knew that that would be the perfect place for us to visit since Haley is obsessed with princesses and has also been talking about going to Disney World for many years now. Again, even though she really wasn't sure what Disney World was. So we had friends to visit, we had a hub to fly in and out of, and we had one fun place for our kids to go. And not that we needed to add any more onto our plate, but while looking into more details for our trip and realizing that we were going to be in Europe during the Christmas and Christmas market season, we decided that we wanted to go see a true authentic Christmas market experience. While doing our research, we found that Strasbourg, France was the Christmas capital of Europe, and we felt like we had to go there. Strasbourg was also a halfway point between Paris and where we were planning to go in Germany, so it felt like the perfect place for us to visit. Unfortunately, Strasbourg didn't end up working out for us, and I'll talk more about that in a future video. But we still wanted to find that authentic Christmas market experience. So while looking around and looking at train stations, we stumbled upon the city of Metz, and it looked like it would be the perfect small town Christmas market experience that we were looking for. So that's how we ended up planning our trip. We knew we were flying in and out of Paris. We wanted to visit Disneyland while we were there. We wanted to see Christmas markets in the small town of Metz, and we were going to visit my friend in Germany. So those are our 4 destinations, and that's how our trip kind of came together. It was not really a bucket list travel place for us, but it was just 4 places that kind of ended up working out and turned out to be a really crazy, amazing trip. So now that you know how we ended up picking our destinations for our trip, I want to share some tips and things to consider as you begin planning your next family trip. The first thing to consider is, where do you want to go? Now that might seem kind of silly, but if you're planning a trip for your family, you are the adult and you have all the say on where and when your family travels. So if you have a long bucket list of places you want to travel, I would start by consulting your personal bucket list and see if there's a place that might be fun to visit as a family. And just because a place might not be considered a family destination doesn't necessarily mean that it's not an okay place for you to take your kids. Take Paris, for example. I always thought of Paris as a place of high fashion and deep history and museums, but we really didn't do any of it. Paris ended up being a great city for us to take our kids to. There was carousels everywhere we went. There were parks on most street corners, and worst case scenario, there's a bakery every couple blocks, and what kid doesn't love a sweet treat? So take a look at your travel bucket list and see if there's a place that might be good for the whole family to enjoy. The next thing to consider is transportation. How do you want to get there? How do you want to get around while you're there? Do you want to drive or fly? Or take a train if you're lucky enough to live in a place that has excellent train systems. If you're too nervous to fly, or you don't want to take your small baby on a plane, or have other personal reasons why driving might be better than flying, that's going to limit the places that you're going to be able to travel. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to be able to have an amazing adventure, but you need to pick something that you are comfortable with, especially if this is your first family trip. So take a minute and think about what's going to work best for you and your family, and that'll help you narrow down your list. The next thing to consider is what kind of activities do you enjoy? Are you someone that hates being outdoors? Then you probably don't want to go to a place that's known for its national parks and outdoorsy adventures. But maybe the outdoors are for you, and you might want to find a place that is known for its outdoor activities and incredible scenery. And on that same note, it's also important to consider what your kids might like. Now, your kids shouldn't drive all of the choices for your trip. It is important to make sure that they are having a good time as well. You want to make sure that there's a little something for everybody so that everybody wants to keep traveling. We opted to go to Disneyland, although Andrew and I were very excited to go to a European Disney park. That was definitely for the kids and something that Haley still talks about every single day. We also knew that our kids would really appreciate all of the Christmas decorations, and we made sure to take time to stop and see all of the decorations in all of the towns that we visited. And then one more thing to consider as far as what kinds of activities you enjoy is also what kind of weather you enjoy. If you are someone that doesn't like the cold, don't go to a place with a cold climate. If you are someone that would rather sit on the beach, make sure you're finding a tropical destination. Keep all of these things in mind so that you make sure you and your family are comfortable while you're on your trip. My last thing to consider is, what do you feel comfortable with? You are the adult and you are the one in charge. And your kids will really feed off of you and your emotions. If you're going somewhere that's gonna make you really uncomfortable the whole time, it's probably not a smart choice to choose that as a destination for you and your family. If this is your kid's first time flying and flying is something that makes you really anxious, maybe you wanna opt for a road trip so that your kids can get comfortable with travel while you work up the courage to get on a plane. Now, we do think it's important to push yourself a little bit outside your comfort zone because it's important for your kids to know that everything isn't always easy. But our kids really do take our cues from us, so it's important to pick a place that you're gonna feel comfortable and excited about so that your kids can feel comfortable and excited as well. So these are my 5 things for you to consider when picking a destination for you and your family. Where do you want to go? What kind of transportation do you want to take to get there? What kind of activities do you enjoy? What kind of activities do your kids enjoy? And what's going to make you the most comfortable and get you the most excited about this trip? I hope that this helps you pick your destination, and if you have a place in mind or if you're narrowing it down, feel free to leave it in the comments below so we can see what you're considering for you and your family. Maybe you'll inspire me or somebody else to get out and take the trip. If you've decided that international travel is the way you want to go for your family trip, make sure you stay tuned for next week where I'll be talking about passports and how to apply for them for your kids under age 16. And if you want to follow along with more of our European adventures and get more family travel tips, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can get notified when we post new videos. And if you want to see more behind the scenes of our family adventure, you can head over to Instagram and follow us at DashExplore. We hope to see you next time!